Q1. Explain the different parts of the 3ds Max interface. App button and quick toolbar, top left corner. It is where you handle files, open, save, export, and find quick shortcuts. Menu bar, the standard top text menu, tools, create, group, animation, rendering. It holds almost every feature in the software. Main toolbar, a row of buttons right below the menu. Gives you fast access to everyday tools like move, rotate, scale, and select. Command panel, the giant sidebar on the right. Your main workshop with 6 tabs to create things, modify them, or tweak animations. Viewports, the main viewing screens showing your 3D world from different angles like top, front, left, and perspective. Time controls, the playback buttons and timeline at the bottom used to play, pause, and keyframe your animations. Status bar and prompt line, bottom area showing info about your scene, coordinates, and system tips. Navigation controls, bottom right buttons to zoom, pan, orbit, and fly through your workspace. Q2. What is a viewport, and what are the methods used to set references on them? A viewport is your main window or viewing screen where you look at and edit your 3D scene. Reference coordinate systems change how you move, rotate, and scale arrows, the gizmo, align themselves. View, default mode. The arrows always align to your screen, X points right, Y points up, no matter how you look at the object. Screen, keeps the axis locked exactly to the flat viewport window monitor itself. World, uses the fixed global compass of the grid, Z is always up, period. Parent, uses the orientation of the object that your item is linked or attached to. Local, aligns the arrows perfectly to the object's own personal angle and face direction. Gimbal, used for advanced animation curves to rotate one axis without messing up the others. Grid, working, and pick, let you align your arrows to a custom grid, a temporary pivot point, or any other random object you pick in the scene. Q3. Explain the command panel. The command panel is that huge control center on the right side of your screen where all the actual building and editing happens. It has 6 main tabs. Create panel, the starting point. Go here to spawn geometry, shapes, lights, and cameras. Modify panel, the editing zone. Used to change dimensions, add modifiers, and tweak your models. Hierarchy panel, handles the invisible links between parent and child objects, plus pivot points. Motion panel, the animation hub. Controls how objects move, their trajectories, and their keyframe properties. Display panel, lets you quickly hide, unhide, freeze, or unfreeze items so your workspace stays clean. Utilities panel, extra bonus tools for technical tasks like system analysis or scene cleanup. Q4. Explain the applications of 3ds Max, including its utility in television, gaming, and design visualization. It is a heavy-duty 3D app used across tons of creative industries to build realistic visuals. TV and broadcast, making animated logos, commercials, motion graphics, and channel intros. Gaming, modeling game assets like characters, weapons, cars, environments, and exporting them to game engines. Film and VFX, creating digital double characters, background environments, and huge special effects explosions. Architectural visualization, building photorealistic walkthroughs of houses and interiors before they are built. Product design, modeling prototypes of products like electronics or furniture to check how they look. Marketing and ads, creating shiny product animations and virtual ads without needing a physical camera crew. Simulations, building educational 3D models and training visuals for complex real-world concepts. Q5. Explain the standard animation pipeline. The step-by-step production workflow to turn a random idea into a finished movie or clip. Story and script, brainstorming the concept, plot, and writing down lines or actions. Storyboarding, drawing quick comic strip style sketches to plan out camera angles and scenes. Modeling, building the actual 3D meshes of your characters, props, and backgrounds. Texturing and lighting, painting colors and materials onto the models, then placing virtual lights to set the mood. Rigging and animation, putting a digital skeleton into characters, then keyframing them to move around. Rendering, letting the computer crunch all the data to create the final pretty images or video frames. Post-production, gluing the frames together, color correcting, adding sound effects, and music. Q6. What are the various display properties available? Handy settings to change how objects look in your viewport to save PC performance and keep things organized. Hide, making an object completely invisible temporarily so it is out of your way. Freeze, locking an item in place so you can see it but cannot accidentally select or move it. Backface cull, hiding the inside or back surfaces of an object so you only see the front faces. See-through, turning an object semi-transparent so you can look at what is hiding behind it. Display as box, turning a super heavy model into a simple wireframe box to speed up a lagging computer viewport. Renderable, a toggle to choose if an object should show up in your final picture or only exist in your workspace. Object color, changing wireframe colors to tell different items apart easily. Q7. Explain Max Script in detail. What it is, 3ds Max is built-in programming language used to automate boring stuff and build custom tools. Automation saves tons of hours by doing repetitive steps, like renaming 1,000 objects in one click. Scene management lets you batch create, delete, or organize massive projects using code. Custom tools, studios use it to build their own custom pop-up menus, sliders, and workflow buttons. Animation control allows you to generate mathematically precise motion or complex automatic sequences. Q8. What is the preferred frame rate for animation and why? The golden standard, 24 FPS frames per second, is the holy grail for film and traditional animation. Why 24 FPS? It hits the perfect cinematic sweet spot. It looks smooth and natural to our eyes without overloading render times. TV standards, TV usually uses 25 FPS, PAL system in places like Europe, or 30 FPS, NTSC system in places like the US. Gaming standards, video games target 60 FPS or higher because interactive gameplay requires ultra-fast responsiveness. Q9. Explain the terms model and modeling. Model, the actual 3D object itself inside the computer, like a virtual car, character, or table that has form and volume. Modeling, the process or act of building that object using points, vertices, lines, edges, and flat surfaces, polygons. Why it matters, it is the foundational first step of any 3D project. You cannot texture, rig, or animate anything until you model it first. Q10. How do you model a human face in 3ds Max? References, grab front and side profile photos of a face to keep proportions right. Set up planes, put those images onto flat planes in your front and side viewports as tracing guides. Base mesh, start simple. Drop a basic plane or box, convert it to an editable poly, and start pulling edges. Edge loops, build circular rings of polygons around the eyes, nose, and mouth. This is key for natural face expressions. Refining, move vertices around to sculpt the lips, nose bridge, eyelids, and jawline. Symmetry and smooth, put a symmetry modifier on so you only have to model half the face, then add turbo smooth to make it clean. Q11. What are the step-by-step actions required to create a cylinder? 1. Open 3ds Max. 2. Head to the Create tab on the right side command panel. 3. Click the geometry icon, the sphere shape. 4. Make sure Standard Primitives is selected in the drop-down menu. 5. Click the cylinder button. 6. Click and drag in a viewport to set how wide the base circle is, then let go of the mouse button. 7. Move your mouse up or down to set the height, then click once to finalize it. 8. Go to the Modify panel if you need to type in exact radius or height numbers. Q12. Write a short note on the Connect Edges tool. What it does, it lets you select 2 or more edges on an editable poly and drops a brand new connecting line between them. Why use it? It adds clean geometry exactly where you need it, creating perfect edge loops. Settings, it has a pop-up menu where you can choose how many new lines to add, squeeze them together, pinch, or slide them along the mesh. Big for characters, essential for adding extra polygons around knees, elbows, and faces so they bend smoothly when animated. Q13. How does Object ID work? Explain its function briefly. Concept, it is like giving an object in your scene its own personal nametag or ID number, like Object ID 1, Object ID 2. The function, when you render, the computer outputs a special mask channel based on those numbers. Photoshop After Effects superpower, in post-production, you can select that exact object instantly using its ID mask to change its color or make it glow without affecting the rest of the render. Q14. List the core principles of animation. The 12 golden rules to make animations look alive, weighty, and believable. 1. Squash and stretch, objects distorting to show weight and flexibility when moving or hitting things. 2. Anticipation, a small wind-up move that tells the viewer what is about to happen, like crouching before jumping. 3. Staging, setting up your camera and characters clearly so the audience instantly gets the main action. 4. Straight ahead and pose to pose, animating frame by frame continuously versus drawing the main big poses first and filling in the gaps. 5. Follow through and overlapping, loose parts, like hair or capes, keeping up momentum and moving even after the character stops. 6. Slow in and slow out, natural easing where objects accelerate gradually and slow down before stopping. 7. Arcs, natural movements follow curved paths, not robotic straight lines. 8. Secondary action, small extra movements that support the main action, like whistling while walking. 9. Timing, how many frames an action takes, which shows how heavy or fast something is. 10. Exaggeration, pushing poses and expressions past real-life limits to make them punchy and entertaining. 11. Solid drawing, giving your models proper 3D volume, balance, and weight in space. 12. Appeal, giving characters charisma and an interesting design that people enjoy watching. Q15. What is anticipation in animation? Explain with examples. The idea, the prep, phase or wind up before a major movement happens. It alerts the audience so they do not miss the fast action. Example 1. A character crouching down low right before leaping up into the air. Example 2. Pulling your fist or arm all the way back before throwing a punch or a baseball. Example 3. Leaning backward slightly right before sprinting forward. Q16. What is meant by body expression? Definition, communicating thoughts, moods, and feelings purely through body language, posture, and gestures instead of words. In animation, it is how you make a character feel alive. Slouching shoulders tells the audience a character is sad, a puffed out chest shows confidence. It works alongside facial features to sell the performance. Q17. How do you create a simple bouncing ball animation? Ball, spawn a sphere primitive above your grid ground. Keys, turn on auto key mode. Go to frame 0 and leave the ball high up. Move down the timeline, drag the ball to the ground to hit its first key. Bounces, keep moving down the timeline, bringing the ball back up, but lower every time to show it losing energy and hitting the floor. Polish, tweak the timeline spacing so it moves fast near the floor and slows down at the peak of the bounce. Add some quick squash and stretch at the impact frame. Q18. What is footstep animation? Definition, an automated or semi-automated way to make characters move by literally stamping footstep icons on the floor grid. How it works, tools like Character Studio, Biped, look at where you place the footsteps and automatically calculate the leg bending, body weight shifts, and balance for a walk or run cycle. No sliding or floating feet. Q19. Define freeform animation. Definition, total manual keyframe animation. You do not use automated footstep paths or motion capture data. The workflow, you manually pose the bones, set a keyframe, move down the timeline, change the pose, and key it again. Pro-con, it takes much more time and skill, but it gives you 100% creative control to create crazy unique actions, stylized moves, or fantasy creature animations. Q20. Explain in detail how to animate a walking quadruped walk cycle. Reference, study real footage of a four-legged animal, like a dog or cat, walking. Rig setup, ensure the four-legged character rig has solid controllers for all limbs, the spine, and tail. Contact pose, set up your start frame where to diagonal legs, example, front left and back right, hit the ground. Leg sequencing, cycle the legs in their natural order, making sure weight shifts cleanly from one side to the other. Spine and head, add a subtle up and down bobbing motion to the body, along with a secondary counter rotation on the neck and head. Tail overlap, animate the tail so it wags with a slight delay behind the main body movement. Looping, ensure your first and last frame match perfectly so the walk repeats seamlessly. Q21. How do you create a quick test animation? Object, drop a basic shape or proxy rig into your scene. Timeline, set a short frame range just to test a single movement blast. Animate, hit auto key, set a starting pose at frame 0, skip ahead, and change the object's position or rotation. Review, play it back instantly in your viewport to see if the timing, speed, and spacing feel right before spending hours refining details. Q22. How do you block out steps for a hand animation? Blocking means setting up your main, raw poses using sharp keyframes without letting the computer smoothly blend them yet. Analyze, look at references for the specific hand motion, like grabbing a cup or waving. Key poses, keyframe the big story points, the starting position, the fully open hand right before the grab, and the final closed grip. Keep it simple, focus on the wrist and the general shape of the fingers first. Do not waste time micro-adjusting knuckle joints until the main timing looks solid. Q23. Which animation methods take the longest time to execute, and why? The culprits, frame-by-frame and custom freeform animation take the absolute longest. Why? There are zero shortcuts. The animator has to manually pose every single joint, handle complex facial expressions, coordinate secondary motions, like clothes or hair, and constantly tweak curve tracks to make the physics look real. Q24. Explain function curve editing curve editor. What it is, a graph window that displays your animation data as visual curves instead of just dots on a timeline. How to read it? Time goes left to right, and the value, like height or rotation angle, goes up and down. The superpower, by grabbing the handlebars, tangents, on the curve, you can smoothly adjust how an object accelerates or slows down, ease in, ease out, to fix robotic or jerky motions. Q25. Explain the practical uses of the graph editor. It is the exact same tool as the curve editor, used daily by pros too. Smooth out clunky keyframe transitions. Manually build clean ease in and ease out arcs for objects. Fix animation glitches like sudden visual pops or jitters. Fine-tune micro details like subtle facial expression changes or finger rolls by looking at the raw graph values. Q26. What is a dope sheet, and what are its primary uses? What it is, a grid-based timeline editor that looks like a spreadsheet layout of your keyframes. Unlike the curve editor, it does not show curves, just raw blocks indicating when keys happen. Primary uses, it is the ultimate tool for timing and speed layout. You use it to select a giant group of keyframes across 10 different body parts and slide them down the timeline together to speed up or delay an action. Q27. Explain track view and schematic view. Track view, the massive umbrella master window that houses both the curve editor and the dope sheet to control all your keys and property tracks. Schematic view, a node-based map layout of your scene. It turns your objects, meshes, and lights into little blocks connected by lines so you can clearly see who is linked to whom in a complex parent-child hierarchy. Q28. Explain the motion mixer and its primary functions. The concept, think of it like video editing software, but for animation clips instead of video files. Primary functions, it lets you grab a walk.bip clip, mix it with a wave.bip clip, and smoothly blend them together on a track timeline without messing with any individual keyframes. Awesome for game dev and reusing old animations. Q29. Explain rigging in detail. What it is, the process of building a virtual skeletal system inside a static 3D mesh so it can actually move. Bones and joints, you lay out a chain of digital bones, spine, arms, legs, inside the character model. Controllers, you add easy to grab shapes, like arrows or rings, so the animator can pull them to pose the character instead of touching the messy hidden skeleton. IK-FK setup, setting up smart mechanical rules, like making the elbow bend automatically when the hand control is pulled. Q30. Explain the process of skinning in detail. What it is, the step right after rigging. It literally glues the outer 3D mesh skin to the internal bones you just built. The skin modifier, you drop this modifier onto your mesh and add your rig bones to its list. Weight painting, the main task. You paint values onto your vertices to tell the computer how much a specific bone should pull the skin. For example, the bicep bone should move the upper arm skin 100%, but it should not stretch your character's nose mesh. Q31. What are the core basics of human anatomy required for character work? To make characters look believable and deform nicely without turning into wet noodles, you need to know skeletal layout, where the actual pivot points of the body are shoulders, hips, elbows. Proportions, the basic rule of thumb guidelines, like an adult being roughly 7 to 8 heads tall. Muscle groups, how biceps, chest plates, and calves shape the outer skin layer. Range of motion, knowing how far a real joint can rotate so you do not accidentally bend a knee backward. Center of gravity, understanding body balance shifts during walks or runs. Q32. Explain character bone hierarchy layout using a flowchart format. A character rig uses a strict parent-child chain so child bones automatically follow their parent. Here is how the family tree flows down. Master root control. Pelvis. Spine 01. Spine 02. Spine 03. Left hip and right hip. Left thigh and right thigh. Left calf and right calf. Chest, left foot and right foot. Left right clavicle. Upper arm. Forearm. Left toe and right toe. Hand, fingers. Neck. Head, eyes, jaw. Q33. What are the steps to rig a human leg and set up an joint chain for the leg's feet? 1. Draw bones. Inside view, create a clean chain of 3 bones, thigh, calf, and foot. Add a tiny toe bone at the end. 2. Hierarchy. Link them in order. Thigh is the parent of calf, which is the parent of foot, which is the parent of toe. 3. Pivots. Make sure the joints sit exactly where the knee and ankle naturally bend. 4. Supply X-solver. Select your thigh bone, choose the X-solver tool, and click down onto the foot bone. This creates an chain line and a single handle at the ankle. 5. Controllers. Make a custom spline shape on the floor for a foot controller and link your X handle to it. Now, moving that floor control automatically bends the entire leg. 6. Knee target. Add a small helper item in front of the knee, a pole vector, to act as a target point so you can steer which way the knee points. Q34. How do you set up parameters to make a character's elbow move correctly? Joint pivot. Place the joint pivot precisely at the crease of the elbow mesh. Chain setup. Run an X-solver from the shoulder down to the wrist so the arm reacts naturally when the hand moves. Elbow swivel control. Drop a helper target object behind the elbow so animators can point it manually and avoid ugly flipping bugs. Rotation limits. Lock down parameters on the elbow bone so it can only swing open and closed on one clean axis, completely blocking unnatural side twists. Q35. Explain the workflow for creating a bicep bulge and inserting a bulge angle. The goal, make the bicep muscle swell up automatically whenever the elbow bends. Setup. Place a helper muscle object or extra bone right inside the bicep mesh area. Parameter wiring. Use a tool to link the rotation angle of the elbow joint directly to the scale size of the bicep helper. Sets the bulge angle. Program a threshold angle rule. Example, only start scaling up the bicep after the elbow rotates past 40 degrees. Cap the max. Lock in a maximum limit so the bicep stops expanding at a full flex, keeping the mesh from clipping out. Q36. Explain the process of creating controllers, animating, and rotating character eyes. Link to head. Link both eyeball objects to your main head bone so they stay locked inside the skull when the character moves. Target helpers. Create two small crosshair helpers or shapes and place them in front of the face. Look at constraint. Assign a look at constraint to each eyeball mesh and target those crosshairs. Now, whichever way you slide the crosshairs, the eyeballs automatically rotate to look right at them. Master controller. Link both eye crosshairs to one single master control widget so you can easily steer both eyes at the exact same time. Q37. List the steps involved in animating lips and morphing facial expressions. Topology. Ensure your character mesh has plenty of polygon lines around the mouth and eyes for clean bending. Morph targets. Clone your character's head multiple times and sculpt a different distinct expression on each copy. Smile, frown, angry, plus separate mouth shapes like O, M, A. Morpher modifier. Drop a morpher modifier onto your main clean head model and load those sculpted heads into its slot channels. Animate sliders. The modifier gives you simple 0 to 100 sliders for each face channel. Turn on auto key and crank the smile slider up to smoothly animate an expression change. Lip sync. Import audio tracks and slide your mouth shape channels up and down to match the spoken syllables. Q38. What are the key components that make up Character Studio? A built-in suite of tools made specifically to speed up character building and animation. Biped, a ready-to-go, click-and-drag human skeleton template that saves you from rigging from scratch. Physique, an older, specialized skinning modifier used to attach your character mesh to the biped bones. Motion mixer, the timeline mixer to blend separate animation clips together smoothly. Footstep system, the quick tool that builds automatic walk-run mechanics based on footprint placements. Motion flow graph, used to script scripts or flowcharts for how animation clips blend together sequentially. Crowd tools, systems to animate huge groups or herds of characters running together. Q39. Write a short note on animating a biped and explain the two main methods used to do so. Biped is the handy Primate skeleton rig inside 3ds Max used to get characters up and moving instantly. You animate it using two core techniques. 1. Footstep method. You stick footstep symbols along a path on the floor. The biped automatically figures out the leg placement, pace, and balance to walk that path. It is fast but basic. 2. Freeform method. Total manual creative freedom. You manually position the arms, twist the spine, rotate the head, and plant keys down frame by frame. Perfect for custom acting or fight choreography. Q40. How can you create and manage libraries of biped animations? Animate your biped character doing an action, like a jump or roll. Save as .beep. Open the biped motion panel and save that animation out as a standalone .beep file. This saves just the movement data, completely separate from the 3D model. Folder system. Keep an organized library folder on your computer categorized by actions, example, locomotion, attacks, idles. Retargeting. You can load those saved .beep files onto any other character biped rig later. The system automatically scales the movement to fit characters whether they are a giant ogre or a tiny dwarf. Q41. What is a PHY file format used for? The definition. It is the native data file format for the physique modifier. Its job, it saves all your manual skin weight information. If you spend days painting vertex settings to make sure your character mesh stretches flawlessly around its joints, you export a .phy file to back up that data. You can reload it if your file breaks or apply it to a similar model mesh to save time. Q42. Which file format is used to save motion files? Explain it briefly. The format, the .beep file. Explanation, it is the native format Character Studio uses to store pure animation data. It doesn't hold meshes, textures, or lights, it only remembers keyframe positions, footstep timing, and skeletal rotations. This makes it lightweight and easy to swap between different character rigs. Q43. Name a few common eye expressions used in character layout. Simple eye changes communicate instant emotions. Happy, lids slightly narrowed with pushed up lower cheeks. Sad, eyelids heavy and drooping, losing sharp target focus. Angry, lids pinched narrow, eyebrows slanted down sharply over the pupils. Surprised, eyes popped wide open, exposing maximum white space with lifted brows. Blinking, eyelids completely closed for a split second to make models feel alive. Sleepy, half closed, lazy drooping lids with slow reaction timing. Q44. What is a controller? Explain its use, advantages, and character controllers in brief. What it is, the back-end engine that tracks and calculates an object's position, rotation, or scale values over time. Advantages, they clean up your workflow by giving you user-friendly custom handle shapes to manipulate instead of dealing with heavy raw bone code. Character controllers types, eye controllers, use lookat rules to pull gaze directions. Hand finger controllers, single sliders to curl an entire fist automatically. Leg knee controllers, targets that point knees and lock feet firmly to the floor. Q45. Describe the attribute holder and explain the process of adding custom attributes. The attribute holder is an empty modifier canvas where you can build your own custom slider controls for a character rig. 1. Select your main control widget, like a wrist ring controller. 2. Add the attribute holder modifier to its stack. 3. Go to the top menu and open the parameter editor. 4. Design a custom setting, example set name is equal to finger underscore curl, UI type is equal to spinner slider, and click add. 5. Use parameter wiring to link your new custom slider directly to the actual finger bone rotation values. Now, spinning that one custom slider curls the whole hand. Q46. Explain the different types of link hierarchies used in animation. Linking connects items so child objects automatically follow whatever their parent does. Standard parent-child, one simple link. If parent moves, child moves. Single level, one master parent node tracking multiple individual child pieces directly. Multi-level, a deep chain setup. Pelvis links to spine, spine links to neck, neck links to head. Skeletal hierarchy, a complete continuous bone network built specifically for character rigs. Mechanical, linking hard surface parts like gaze or excavator arms to follow physical joints. एक FK hierarchy, switching how motion flows, top down from shoulder versus bottom up from wrist. Q47. Write a short note on the select and link tool. What it is, located on your main top toolbar, it looks like two chain links connected together. How to use it? Click the tool, grab your intended child object, drag a visual line over to your target parent object, and let go. Why it matters, essential for basic animation rigging. Use it to stick a sword to a character's hand bone, a wheel to a car chassis, or build complex structural chains. Q48. What are the common uses of constraints? Mention the 7 types of constraints used in animation. Constraints are automatic boundary rules that force an object to get its position or rotation data from another target object without manual keyframing. The 7 core constraints. 1. Position forces an object to snap exactly to another object's location coordinates. 2. Orientation forces an object to mirror the exact rotational tilt of another item. 3. Look at keeps an object constantly facing toward a target item, great for eyes tracking a moving prop. 4. Path clamps an object onto a line path spline so it glides along it like a train track. 5. Link lets an object switch parents halfway through an animation, like picking up a coffee cup from a table. 6. Attachment locks an object to a specific polygon face of another mesh so it stays glued there. 7. Surface constrains an object so it can slide around freely but remains trapped on the outer surface of a 3D volume. Q49. Write notes on a gimbal and the issue of gimbal lock. Gimbal, a rotation mode that uses 3 independent, nested rings, X, Y, Z axis, to calculate angles. The problem, gimbal lock this happens when you rotate your object in a way that causes 2 of those directional rings to overlap and line up perfectly on top of each other. The result, you lose a full degree of freedom. The computer gets confused because 2 axes now do the exact same thing, causing your object to twist violently or jitter along clunky paths. Q50. Write notes on IK, inverse kinematics, and FK, forward kinematics, explaining the function of the high solver. FK, forward kinematics motion flows top down. To pose a hand, you must manually rotate the shoulder, then the elbow, then the wrist. Great for natural swinging arcs like arms or tails. IK, inverse kinematics motion flows bottom up. You simply grab the wrist controller and drag it, the software automatically calculates how the elbow and shoulder should bend to keep up. Essential for keeping feet firmly planted on the ground. High solver, history independent the default IK engine in 3ds Max. It instantly computes joint angles on an IK leg arm chain frame by frame without needing to look at past timeline memory, keeping viewports incredibly fast and stable. Q51. Briefly explain any 5 common types of modifiers in 3ds Max. Modifiers let you deform meshes non-destructively through a stack window without breaking the base model. Bend, warps and curves your object cleanly along a chosen angle axis. Twist, screws and rotates the top of your model while keeping the base locked down, like a rope or corkscrew. Taper, pinches one end of your object narrow while expanding the opposite side, like a cone or tree trunk. Noise, randomly scrambles vertices around to turn smooth surfaces into rugged terrains, water ripples, or rocks. Turbo Smooth, subdivides your flat polygons into tons of tiny faces, instantly turning blocky models into smooth high-end meshes. Q52. What is the difference between the Turbo Smooth and Mesh Smooth modifiers? Both modifiers split polygons to smooth out rough, blocky meshes, but they have key trade-offs in performance and control. Performance and speed, Turbo Smooth is highly optimized, ultra-fast, and uses very little system RAM. Mesh Smooth, on the other hand, causes much slower viewport processing and is heavy on system resources. Control settings, Turbo Smooth features barebones, straightforward options. Mesh Smooth provides deep, advanced options and lets you make sub-object level tweaks. Best use case, Turbo Smooth is perfect for fast previews and final production rendering. Mesh Smooth is best suited for detailed modeling work where you absolutely need microcontrol. Q53. Write a short note on the FFD, freeform deformation, modifier. What it is, encloses your model inside a temporary grid cage made of simple control points, like FFD2x2x2 or 4x4x4. How it works, instead of selecting thousands of complex vertices on a high poly mesh, you just grab and stretch a few points on the cage box. The model inside smoothly deforms along with it. Great for adjusting stylized body proportions or shaping furniture. Q54. Write a short note on the symmetry modifier. What it does, it acts like a mirror slice tool. It chops your model down a chosen axis line and automatically duplicates a perfectly mirrored copy on the opposite side. Why it's a lifesaver, cuts modeling time clean in half. It includes an automatic welding option along the center seam line, making it the primary workflow choice for building symmetrical shapes like human faces, cars, or characters. Q55. Explain the morpher modifier in detail. The core job, it smoothly blends the shape of a base model into different shape copies, morph targets, based on simple percentage sliders. Facial Mastery, it is the industry favorite tool for face animations. You load target shapes like a mouth wide open mesh or a blink mesh into its channel slots. Crank the slider to 100% and the character smoothly smiles or speaks. Non-destructive, your base model remains untouched, and you can animate multiple sliders together for complex performances. Q56. Write a short note on the UVW map modifier and the unwrap UVW modifier. These tools prepare your 3D model surfaces so 2D textures and images wrap around them correctly. UVW map modifier, quick and automated. It drops a basic geometric projection box, planar, box, cylinder, or sphere over your object to slap textures on instantly. Best for simple shapes like walls or pillars. Unwrap UVW modifier, deep manual control. It lets you cut seams into complex meshes, like a character skin, and flatten them out completely like a clothes pattern. This lets you export a template map for precision texture painting in apps like Photoshop. Q57. What is the primary function of the patch deform modifier? Primary function, it grabs a 3D object and wraps deforms it seamlessly along the curves of a flat patch surface object. The workflow, if the underlying target patch surface bends, stretches, or animates, your object molds itself and warps along with those changes. Awesome for creating tight clothing accents, belts, or organic skin layouts. Q58. Briefly explain the functions of the following specific modifiers. Effect region, localized soft editing. Pulling one single point gently drags nearby vertices along with it based on a smooth fall-off bubble curve. Bend, curves and bends geometry cleanly around a chosen axis line. Bevel profile, takes a flat 2D line profile sketch and extrudes it along a path line to generate complex molding borders or raised text edges. Camera map, object space projects a texture onto a mesh from a specific camera's viewpoint. The texture locks onto the object, moving with it if the item shifts. Camera map, world space projects textures based on fixed world coordinates. If the object moves through space, the projected image stays static, making the model pass right through the texture projection. Q59. Explain space warps used in 3ds Max dynamics with relevant examples. Space warps are invisible environmental force fields that interact with particle systems or dynamic objects to simulate real-world physics without manual animation. Gravity pulls objects and debris straight down toward the ground. Example, rocks tumbling down a cliff. Wind pushes items in a specific direction with adjustable gusts. Example, dust particles blowing across a desert or a flag fluttering. Vortex creates a swirling whirlpool force. Example, a tornado effect sucking up loose particles. Bomb blows an object apart into scattered debris pieces from an internal center point. Deflector acts as a solid invisible collision shield that particles bounce off of. Example, rain droplets hitting a glass roof. Q60. Explain the PF particle flow source. What it is, the powerhouse node engine for advanced, event-based particle setups in 3ds Max. How it works, it spawns a particle flow system icon in your scene. You open up a flowchart editor window, particle view, and string together simple event logic boxes like birth, spawn 500 dots, speed, move fast, shape, turn dots into tiny spheres, collision, bounce off floor. Applications used to build complex visual effects like thick smoke, sparks, heavy blizzards, fire, or magic spells. Q61. What is the core difference between a deflector and a U-deflector? Both stop particles from passing through objects, but they look at geometry differently. Standard deflector, a basic, flat rectangular dummy plane. It only simulates collisions against perfectly flat surfaces like a wall or floor plane. It is fast and light on your computer. U-deflector, universal and advanced version that lets you pick any complex 3D mesh in your scene, like a car chassis or character statue, and turns its exact irregular surface shell into a physical collision barrier. Q62. Name the different emitters available within the particle system. Emitters define the physical starting shape or point where particles blast out from. Point emitter shoots everything out from a single pixel dot in space. Box emitter spawns particles randomly inside a 3D box volume, great for rain or snow fields. Sphere emitter blasts particles outward in all directions from a globe volume. Mesh object emitter uses the actual surface skin of a 3D model to shoot out particles, like a burning character model spawning embers. Spray and blizzard, legacy emitters built for classic directional stream effects and heavy downpours. Q63. What is the use of the ground collision option available in the Mass Effects toolbar? The use, it turns on an instant, infinite, invisible flat floor barrier right at your world grid center line, Z is equal to 0. Why it rocks, saves you from manually building a floor plane object. When you run physics simulations, your dynamic rigid bodies, like dropping a pile of bowling pins, instantly hit this floor and bounce or roll around instead of falling forever into empty space. Q64. Explain the process of simulation baking using the Mass Effects toolbar. The problem, physics simulations calculate live in real time based on complex math, which can change or lag every time you play the timeline. The solution, baking takes that live physical chaos and converts it into rock solid, standard animation keyframe dots on your timeline. Once baked, the physics engine turns off, and your scene plays back instantly and renders perfectly without any glitchy recalculation surprises. Q65. Explain the different types of rigid bodies available within Mass Effects. Rigid bodies are items configured to act under real-world physics laws inside the Mass Effect simulation engine. Dynamic rigid body, fully controlled by physics gravity. It falls, crashes, bounces, and reacts to collisions naturally. Static rigid body, immovable scenery. It stays frozen in space but acts as a solid physical obstacle that dynamic bodies crash into, like stone walls or concrete pillars. Kinematic rigid body, driven by your custom keyframes, not gravity. It can push dynamic objects out of the way with massive force, like a heavy moving elevator platform or an animated wrecking ball. Q66. Explain the various rendering controls and setups available in 3ds Max. The render setup window is your final dashboard to turn your 3D workspace into a finished picture or movie file. Common parameters, set your final output size resolution, like 1920 x 1080, choose your frame range, single frame versus active animation timeline, and choose where to save the file. Renderer engine selection, switch between different core render brains, like the realistic Arnold engine or the quick scanline engine. Environment controls, set up background sky images, add fog effects, depth of field lens blurs, or ambient lighting rules. Render elements allows you to separate your final picture into separate pass layers, just shadows, just reflections, just colors, for advanced editing later.